Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted today to be here with Bert, who's in Belgium, who's an umpire, a BWF umpire, and I cannot believe I'm about to talk to an umpire. I've tried and tried for years to speak to umpires. For not for years, that's a lie. For the last 6 months, I try, and they're all so confident in the chair, but they're so shy in person. So here we are. Let's welcome Bert. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I just had a classic day at the office, so nothing special there. Um, and then I'm here, well,
Talk to
getting
me.
ready for your questions.
Yeah, that's good. Like I said to you, it's very casual. I'm an enthusiast. I'm by no means BBC, so I'm not the British Broadcasting Corporation. You can relax. I'm fairly easy. I'm just interested, always interested in all things badminton. I've been dying to interview an umpire because I've got so many questions about. And I was driving into work this morning, and I was thinking all the questions I have to ask about being an umpire. But let's start with the very, very basics about your badminton, if we could. Do you play badminton, and did you always play badminton, and when did you start?
Well, if I have to go back all the way, that was when I was
Please.
8, actually, and it started in the garden with
Yeah,
my
brilliant.
dad, actually, who liked playing badminton. But he put in his own rules, and the court was not exactly the badminton court because it had to fit in the garden, actually. And the one very special rule he had was that the net was at about 2 meters high because he thought it was not fair if somebody could smash.
Really?
Yeah. So rallies went on and on and on. So, but I
So it was
love
like a
badminton.
volleyball net. So it was like a
It's
volleyball
something like
net.
that. And I love badminton right from the start. So when I was 9, I organized with two guys from where we lived the what I would say now the under 9 World Championships garden badminton,
Brilliant.
which I won. Until now, it is not being recognized by BWF as an official title, but I was happy at the time, so I'm fine. And then when I was 13, we started playing in a local club. And when I was 15, about 15, I moved to the club I'm still a member to, which was a club like 45 minutes away, where my uncle was one of the starting members.
Right.
Um,
And
and
was it very
then
popular? But
it it in the region I live, actually, it's close to Louvain University. That's the major university city in Belgium.
right.
It's quite a popular sport. Um, it's at least 1,000 people play in Louvain. So that's students, but also the locals and that's a big
Wow,
number.
that's a big number. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I used to be a member of the club who has been for like 10, 15 years the biggest club in Belgium with
Really.
about 350 members.
Wow.
So that's not bad. We have now one club, as far as I know, around 500 members. And that's in Ghent.
And so from a very early age you played badminton, and you always loved it, and did it ever become a career, or did you ever think about, how, at what age did you think, did you ever
Well,
think about a career in it at that
no,
time?
because until 20 years old, I just played recreationally. I
Really?
played
Would you
tournaments.
say club, like regional club, is that kind of thing? Or
Yeah,
would you say, yeah.
yeah. Um, but it's only as of 20 years old that I started training with one of the best trainers who was also training in our club. And that's when I
Who was that,
started.
Bert? What was that name?
He's only locally known, Mil Pardon. He's still alive. He's like 93 now.
Really?
Uh,
Wow.
Um, but he has trained some of the absolute best players in their early career for sure.
Oh,
I don't know whether you remember the name Wouter Clas,
yeah,
but he
kind
was
of.
the first Belgian to win a medal at the European Championships in Manchester, the
Really?
year that the Iceland volcano erupted,
Oh, yeah.
that all the players had trouble going back home after the European
Yeah,
Championships.
I remember that.
That's where he won in the mixed doubles the first. bronze medal for Belgium ever.
Wow.
So he's from the same club. I keep saying that I actually won against him when he was like 10 years old, uh, barely. But well, he's one of the guys who is from the same club, and because of that, Mil Pardon was also giving training there, and well, I tried it, and thanks to Mil, I moved up to what we called at that time the B1 level, which is the second highest rank in Belgium. So if you would, well, let's say that A players would be the top 100, and then like the next 300 players would be B1 players.
And were you a singles player, were you a singles player or doubles or mixed, or what was your?
Most of the time we play all disciplines, because if you get beaten quickly in one discipline in a tournament, at least you got still the other ones to play.
That's right.
I used to be a singles player, but at the end I moved to doubles.
Yeah. At what age? When you're at singles, you say like up to 15, 16, 17 kind of thing? Or?
No. I was still playing singles after that. But in tournaments at the end in the B1, the last 3-4 years, I think I've almost never played any more singles. It was doubles and or mixed doubles.
And so when you say, so what do you think if I asked for you to attribute your kind of interest and passion and love of badminton to a person? Is there somebody that you think at that stage, at that age growing up, that was key, that was
actually in the 80s we had a very big international tournament in Belgium, which was the Pune International. And at that time, the finals were broadcasted live on national television, which considered now was a big thing. And in the 80s, if there's one name that comes back, it's Morten Frost.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, if you would look at those matches nowadays, you would consider it to be boring. Because you didn't have the rally point system yet. So they could play like 20 rallies in a row and it would be still love all, because you would only score points on your own serve.
Yes.
So that's one thing. And the other thing is, Morten Frost didn't have the most attacking game in the world, you know. Yes. It was like keeping the shuttle back and just wear out the adversary or force him into making mistakes. But at that time, for me, that was absolutely wonderful.
I think for me, Morten Frost, I'm quite short. I'm only 5'7", and I've always been like a little bit of a ferret running around the court, a bit of a. They would call it, I guess they would call it in the UK, running around like a headless chicken, trying to hit the shuttle back. Where Morten
that
Frost,
was my strategy as well.
Yeah, where Morten Frost, I remember my coach used to say, you know, you're not the most technical person in the world, but you chase it down. You know, I will never let that shuttle hit the deck, because I was fit at the time, not so much now. But Morten Frost, I just remember watching him thinking, I guess like Victor, corner to corner of the court with one step, and you think, you know, I've got to really run and really wear myself out. And I always found it really intimidating playing against tall people anyway, because I always thought I was working so hard. It was, I just love it. So
I had the same problem, because I'm not tall. I'm 1 meter 70, so that's not tall. And I have a very attacking game in singles. I was not playing very high clears. So sometimes these very tall guys, we had one guy in the province who was like 2 meters tall, and he could just jump in between, and then you're still there and the shuttle is already on the floor and you're like, yeah, whatever. I never liked playing tall people.
I know. I still, do you play singles now?
No, I can't play anymore. I'm thinking about starting again at a recreational level, because
what singles? Are you talking about singles? You still play doubles, do you?
No, I don't play.
Don't you play at all? Oh, that's travesty. Really?
And it's depressing.
Yes, I agree.
A chronic inflammation on my elbow, and I have arthrosis on my hip. I have a very bad back. I have hernia, lumbago, you name it. I got the whole thing. So sometimes it was not. It was just not fun anymore. But
Yes.
it was not fun anymore because you relate to a certain level that you're used at playing, and I just can't do that anymore. So I've stopped playing almost 10 years ago,
Oh wow.
and now I'm thinking about starting again just for the fun, because I've found out, and I'm very slow at those things to find out, is that it's the only thing I love as a
Yes.
sport.
Yes.
I don't mind watching other sports. I can really have fun watching other sports as well. But doing myself, badminton, nothing else really.
Yeah, it's
It's
terrible, isn't
sad.
it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm at the moment going through a thing called labyrinthitis, which is a balance, a middle ear. There's a canal
Yeah.
that runs, and you lose my balance. So I play, and I only got it in February, and I really struggle with my balance. And of course, badminton. I played a bit of golf, and around the low height, I'm okay. But it's with labyrinthitis, it's throwing your head back when you get wobbles.
Yeah.
So sitting here looking at this, I'm fine, and golf I'm fine because low, and tennis. But throwing my head back at badminton, so I've just started back 4 weeks ago, since February, and yeah, it's I did start getting depressed not playing. I did start getting, and I just think I actually said to my wife the other day. I said, I came back from badminton the other day, and she says I could actually give up this sport and say I cannot play, and it just depressed the life out of me. But you should just go back to it and maybe just take it easy, right? Do you still have clubs very local to you?
Well, I'm still a member
You're
of the
still a
same
member of that
club.
club, and it's still as
And
busy as it was, is it?
excuse me.
Still as busy, still as many people.
I don't. Well, at the moment, probably they dropped
Yeah.
number of members due to Corona,
Yes.
because recreational players will not enlist again if they can't play. It's as simple as that. It's different for youth players and competition players because they want to continue their practice to keep the level. For pure recreational players, they just go like, well, if you're not allowed to play because sports halls were closed, then, well, they don't want to pay for something they can't do.
Yeah.
So they'll just come back the moment they can really start playing again, which is fine. But yes, they probably dropped in numbers as well, because only outside sports were allowed at a certain moment, nothing inside, or making it very difficult. So yeah, we took a big punch on the member level. I'm also a member of the board of directors for Badminton Flanders. And we used to have 25,000 members, and we dropped like 7,000 members just because of that. So the next 2 years will be about trying to regain as many members as
That's
possible.
an amazing amount of members. 25,000 members. That's incredible, right? What's the
I don't know, but apparently, if you compare for the rest of Europe, we are scoring quite high for being such a small country.
I agree. So tell me about tell me how you got into this umpiring business, and how does it? Can I ask you a question? Something I've been meaning to ask you. Are you a golfer?
No, but there are a lot of umpires who actually play golf.
I can imagine. What? I'll tell you why I was thinking about it. Right. So, golfers. Have you ever heard of the R&A?
No.
R&A.
I have no knowledge about golf.
R&A make a book, and it's a book of rules for golf, and it covers every eventuality in a game of golf. Anything that you can imagine happening on a golf course, any possible scenario where a ball stops on a step, say on a golf course, what's the rule? There is a book called the R&A, and it's a Bible, right? Golfers, and there are certain people that love the rules. And I just wonder, is that an umpire? And I thought, I bet you there's an umpire when something happens. What is your R&A? What is the badminton R&A? Where do you go when there's something happens on a game of badminton? Where do you go? Is there a Bible? Is there a book?
Actually, we have the laws of badminton, of course, and then which is also published by BWF, the ITTOs, which are the instructions to technical officials, and they are more or less considered as some sort of a Bible for umpires. But it doesn't cover every situation, because you can't cover every situation in badminton. And so there's another rule that is brought up quite often, but that's a rule which is applicable for any refereeing or umpiring or any official task in any sport, which is called common sense.
Really?
And that's a tricky one, because sometimes, because of the situation, because of the pressure, because of the nerves, people don't always respond in a proper way with or in relation to common sense.
Yes.
And that's probably most of the time when spectators start talking about the referee or the umpire. But common sense remains a very basic rule to apply.
Is there
Yes,
still such a thing as a let?
Yes, of course. We still have lets, because if something unforeseen happens, then you should call a let.
Yes.
Or when you are in a position where you can't see
Yes.
the shuttle falling in or out, because we're talking about not only an international level where you have like a million line judges, which is wonderful,
Yes.
but at local tournaments, most of the time you don't even have a service judge. You're just umpiring a match.
Yeah.
And you have to call all the lines. And well, you can't say to players at the start of the match, please, when a shuttle lands near a line, step out of the side so I can properly watch. It doesn't work like that.
No, of course.
So it does happen that you could say, well, I think it's this, but the moment that you have to say something like, I think it's this, then you're not sure.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's a line judge, and he was line judge at the All England, and I asked him a question about a close call, and I said, sometimes, undeniably, sometimes you might not see it, something might have happened, somebody was in your way, you didn't see it. And what he said to me is that the ruling that we're told is we have to decide. We can't say, I don't know, it's either in or it's out. We say it's in or it's out. If it's overruled, it's overruled, but we'd always say, we're told, we've got to be decisive. Whether we're right or we're wrong, we're decisive. We say, no, it was out, no, it was in, and there's no, I'm not very sure. I mean, that's going to happen, right? I mean, I've seen it myself. You've seen it, you're in a game of badminton, the shuttle lands, and you say, I don't know. Doesn't it? It's fast, right? It's really fast.
It can happen, and what we did in Belgium, like a little bit more than 10 years ago, and this year as well, is have sports science department of the University of Ghent deliver some research on how the eye works and how the brain works in relationship to a perception of in and out, for instance, or whatever you see in badminton particularly. And it's very clear that your mind does some tricks on you. So it makes you sometimes see something you're actually not seeing.
Really?
And the best example the professor gave, and this was in 2009, and you have to imagine this is a full room of umpires. There's nothing else sitting there. There are only umpires in the room. And just for research purposes, he filmed a boring match between two students at no level whatsoever, so it's not about the quality, and he showed a smash along the long line, and the camera position was along the long line. So he showed that to his audience, which is a group of umpires, and he said, well, was this shuttle in or out?
And at actual speed, yeah.
He just showed actual speed.
Replayed,
and he said, well, is a shuttle in or out? And the whole room said, without any doubt in their mind, oh, that's clearly in. And he said, that's very interesting, because you didn't see the shuttle hitting the floor. And we know that for sure, because the actual frame from the shuttle flying to the ground and bumping up again, we cut it out of the movie.
Wow. Yeah.
So we know 100% sure you didn't see it. And
perception.
He said, don't worry, by the way, you were right, but this is what your brain does. Based on the trajectory that the shuttle makes, the moment that you miss a part, your brain will fill in the missing part based on the trajectory.
Wow.
And so this creates once in a while the situation where you can make an error, because, for instance, blinking with your eye takes more time than a shuttle hitting the floor and bumping up again. because we only see at like 24, 25 frames per second. A shuttle goes a lot faster.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's all these minor things that might influence you, but also the players, by the way. So they will have the same problem, and they're actually moving at the same time. But it's all about these kind of things that will influence your judgment, and being aware of that most of the time raises the quality of your judgment. So, for instance, you can't say to a line judge as the moment the rally starts, don't blink with your eyes. Because that rally can go on forever. You're sitting there like a fish, like, no, I can't blink. That
with tears running down your face.
But you know that you can still follow the rally as a line judge, and the moment it gets close and where you know that this might go down, this is a moment where you zoom in and you don't blink anymore. The other thing is following a moving object makes the quality of the decision bad. You better look at something that doesn't move. So once you know that the shuttle is coming close to the line, you're not following the shuttle anymore, but you're watching the line.
Wow.
And then you register the moment that something is on the ground. And all these small things change the quality of your decision. The same that because I'm also an instructor for umpires. This is one of the things we also said. When the umpires are watching a rally, if you see them like moving their head all the time, that's a stable camera gives a nice view. If the camera is moving all the time, you get a blurred image.
Amazing.
That's the same for us. And the other thing is, if you're moving your head, then the camera position is not stable as well, because you can't keep it at a very equal line. But if you keep your head straight and you just move your eyes, all of a sudden, that's already a more stable view.
Wow.
And this is important in net rally situations, because in net rally situations, you actually don't need to move your head anymore.
Wow.
Because it's completely within your sharp eyesight. It's this area. So in this area, you don't need to move your head.
The more solid your tripod, being your head is, the better. Yeah.
So these are things you need to be taught, because a normal reaction is if the shuttle is there, you want to follow it, because you need to follow the shuttle. Not always. Another thing I try to teach is, for instance, if the player is there on his court, jumping in the air for the smash jump, you can pay attention to it. Most of the time, you won't see me looking at that. I've already moved my head back to the net. Because the jump, I understand it's very beautiful to watch.
Yes.
But for me as an umpire, there's nothing there that makes my judgment better. So I already go to the net. Because just for your idea, a smash can easily start at 360 kilometers an hour. This means that it has a starting speed of 100 meters per second. This means that the first meter is at a 100th of a second.
Wow.
You don't see the shuttle. You can't. You have nothing there to watch.
Wow. I see what you mean. So there's
there's
no point in looking at it. Yeah. There's no point.
So if you move your head already to the net, the first 4 meters, 5 meters in the court, there's nothing interesting for us. But it starts getting interesting at the net, because the shuttle might hit the net and fall down. And now you might have missed that, and you don't know at which side the shuttle has fall down to the floor. And that makes you look stupid. And it has happened to quite a few umpires that shuttle hits the net, falls on the ground, and they don't know.
So
and it's
I was
not
going to
that
ask
they're
you
bad
something.
umpires. I'm talking about very good umpires, but it happens.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question about. So you're a lover of badminton, and you're a lover of quality badminton, and you will undoubtedly see the best players in the world play, and you're sitting in that chair and you're right next to them watching them play. But now you've kind of answered my question that you're not really watching the game. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about At what point? I mean, I don't know about you. But when I watch badminton, it's exceptional. And I see a shot, or if I watch a world class player standing, and you can't help but clap. You can't help but cheer. You can't help but say, "Oh my God, that was amazing!" So I don't know how you sit with. You must sit with your hands on with your hands under your legs, so you don't show any. And like, oh my God, that was amazing. Do you not have any of that? Is there any part of you that thinks that?
I can keep quite well a straight face, and this helps as well in difficult situations. But it's something you learn, that you need to control your emotion. Actually, this is for me the most difficult thing about umpiring, because they will always say, yes, you have to remain neutral and you have to be objective. Yeah, but what does that mean? I mean, if somebody tells you be neutral, yeah,
what is that? Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? How do you do that? And I've changed my attitude to the idea by saying that this is just another emotion. It's about trying to get away from your emotions as much as possible.
I agree.
And if it worked for me in such a way that I was always aware of, for instance, if a player would say something, let's say, nastier to you, some people will take it personally and get angry. And that's the last thing you want as an umpire, because when you get angry, you lose control. So you don't want to get in that area. So you need to be aware of the fact, like, hold on, is this doing something to me? Yes or no? Because I need to address that as well, because otherwise it might influence the quality of my decisions. That's the same with making a mistake. If you make a mistake, which will happen because badminton is so fast, it's actually even written in the ITTOs. If you make a mistake, correct it and apologize and move on.
I see.
But that's the difficult part, moving on, because I can be shouting in my head at myself like, "Oh, you."
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't stay with that incident.
Yes.
Because if you were still there, then in badminton they already played another 3 rallies, and you might have screwed up 3 more rallies as well. So no, you made a mistake. Either you correct it or not, but you have to move on, because they need you for the next rally and the other rally and the rally after that as well. So yes, that's not so easy every moment of the match, because if you really do something bad, you're not happy with yourself, for sure.
Can I ask you a question on something else?
Yeah.
So going back to judging and stuff, and
yeah.
Can I ask you a question? This may be a stupid question. Is a player allowed to overrule a line judge to their detriment? So if they can't. So if the shuttle comes down on their side and the line judge says it was out, can that player say no, it was in? No.
He can protest, and if there's IRS, he can challenge it. He can't overrule as a player.
Even though it's to his detriment. Even though it's to his detriment to give it, he's not allowed to.
No. Now they will do it, because this is again an emotional thing. If let's say that a line judge is just gone and nevertheless makes a call which is completely ridiculous, hypothetical, because
yes,
I've never had that situation.
Correct.
There will be situations where there might be a bad call, but anyway.
Yes.
Even in that case, players can't just say like, no, sorry, that's wrong, and now all of a sudden it's my decision. It doesn't work like that. You have to remember, back in the old days, this was before 2004, there was not even the possibility for an umpire to overrule a line call.
Really?
Yeah.
So is that recent? When was that? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. This changed after some incidents at international tournaments where the line judges were like 100% local line judges, and they did line judge in favor of the local players.
Wow.
And that, well, if that gets to the higher levels, then you have a serious problem, of course. And so they introduced the overruling in 2004. And that rule is also very clear. You can overrule as an umpire when it's beyond reasonable doubt. So, because we know that there's also a parallax fault from where you are sitting. If you're not dead ahead of the line, you're looking at an angle, you might make an error as an umpire as well. So you need to be very sure. So in the far corner opposite back boundary line, if it's like half a centimeter behind the line, that's no way near of being beyond reasonable doubt. You just can't see that. And this is also the way how I would communicate to a player when he protests, because the line judge might have called it in the wrong way, and the player might have seen it correctly.
I see.
But I have to say, look, from where I'm sitting, this is way too close to the line. It has to be beyond reasonable doubt, because otherwise you open Pandora's box.
So let's go back. Tell me how you started umpiring.
All right. This was because we have a ranking system in Belgium. You have A, B1, B2, C1, C2, and now we have D as well. And I was a C2 player who moved up to C1. Now, we played a lot of tournaments.
Sorry, can I go back? Can I go back 1 second? That ranking system, how is it policed, and how do you move from one to the other? Do you play in tournaments to win, or what happens?
Yes. At that time, you had to win. In my time, you had to win in the C2 a men's singles or 3 men's doubles.
Wow.
But they also required a minimum level of players. So if I wanted to win 1 men's singles, it needed to be a 32 knockout table.
Wow.
So you had to play at least 5 matches. And in doubles, you had to have at least a 16 knockout table. So if you would win a doubles with only 15 players, it would not be counted as one for the 3. At the end of the year, they might have a deliberation on whether this is good enough and move you up. But I won the provincial championship in my province in C2, which was at that time always a 32 knockout table. And by that, I could move up to C1. But this meant that where I was used to playing semifinals and finals also on Sunday and the preliminary rounds on Saturday, now all of a sudden, moving up 1 rank, you lose on Saturday. And when we went out with the club, we were always there with like 15 or 20 players, and you would stay there for the weekend. So all of a sudden now you're there on Sunday watching matches, and I'm not a good spectator. I'm just not.
You get itchy feet. You want to play or go? Yeah, okay.
So I just went like, you know what? I'll do the umpiring. So that's an active role of being involved anyway.
Yes.
And it's another way
when you're not playing. When you're not playing.
This is how I got into it.
And how does that become a thing? How does that become a thing? So you said you got into it. What, you started doing it on a Sunday, and then it was the next Sunday, and then the next Sunday, and the next Sunday, and
realized right from the start that what I didn't know at that time, and what I can say now, is that the umpire thing is what I feel like it is my natural habitat. This is where I perform at my best. I wake up. The rest of my life, I'm in a pseudo coma position. But when I'm umpiring,
that's you. That's you. That's it.
And this just moved up the ranks. And so by doing this, you just want to do more. Well, in my case, I just wanted to do more. It was not even about, I want to go all the way up. I just wanted to do more.
When you say more, you want to do as
they
much
said,
as you
"Well,
could.
We
Yeah.
didn't get your name, bugger off." It's like, we have enough. Yeah, but I want to umpire. I'll do it for free.
Really? All local though, right? At that time, all locally.
Yeah.
And how long did you do that for? How many did you? Was it a year? Was it 6 months? What? How long were you doing it every week?
Training is you start your training at that time in February, March, where you have the theoretical part, and then you would start umpiring matches in a very basic way. I think the first thing you do is just trying to fill out the score sheet while following a match. And you're happy at the end of the match that it's more or less synchronized.
Yes.
That you actually filled out the score completely until the end when the match is actually finished as well. So it's step by step that you move up. And once you got the score sheet, then you can actually start looking at the match, and then you can actually start making decisions, and you start getting control of what's happening in front of you. So that's where you move on. And the more you move on, the more extras you can bring into the decision making or the controlling or the managing of court, of the surrounding of the court, and then getting contact with your service judge and line judges and the referee, and so this is where you move on.
Amazing.
So I did it on a local level until national for 4 years. I started umpiring 94. And then I went up to national level 98. Now, national level means when they assess you for national level in Belgium, that they also start looking for, does he have potential for going abroad? And apparently I had, and this is something that I also definitely wanted to do. This was already pretty clear right from the start.
Yeah.
And then I started umpiring internationally. And then in the first 2 years, I was only allowed to go abroad 2 times a year. But then the 3-4 years after that, because we were still a small group of international umpires in Belgium, I had the opportunity to go like 7-8 times a year abroad.
Is that, sorry, but does it work like that? Does it work by the certain numbers of people and certain numbers of umpires from certain countries? Where does that number come from? Do you understand what I mean? Yeah.
First of all, it's about having the possibility to go abroad, because not everyone can take off days from work as easily as others.
Yes.
So that's already important. I had the opportunity and I had the possibility to do it in a very flexible way, and this gave me an advantage compared to other people. So if you ever get to the discussion like, how good are you as an umpire? I can say, yeah, I'm not a bad umpire, but that doesn't mean that a lot of other people didn't have the potential, but just didn't have the opportunity to go all the way. And that's something that's easily forgotten.
What was your circumstance? How could you do it, Bert?
World championships or whatever, it's not necessarily the top 16. There's not something that exists like that you have a ranking in umpiring.
Yes.
It's not the best 16 at the moment. It's from all the best umpires, the ones who are available.
And how did you have circumstance to do that? Were you working, or did you have a job? What did you do to work? You know, I don't know if it does
at Brussels Airport.
I see. And you always did, but you always did, right?
My first serious job was Brussels Airport, and at that time it was as a firefighter, but then I moved on to another position. And I never wanted to go back, because in 2001 the director of firefighter brigade called me like, do you want to come back? And I loved the firefighter brigade at the airport, because that's boys with toys. We have the nicest toys in the world. But at the same time, I was already into my international career, and I realized that I would have been obligated to take holidays for weekends. Because as a firefighter, of course, you're working weekends as well. And I was already spending a lot of time on umpiring and made a choice.
And loving it. Yeah, and loving it.
And I wanted to go for the umpiring story. And very happy that I took that decision.
Isn't it absolutely? What an amazing story! What an amazing story! And how does? And I was quite interested at you take it on about a notepad and getting a score and all that stuff. And and I'm so conscious now. I've got a good friend in Northern Ireland called Phil McEwen, who's involved with digital media and the latest thing with cameras and PTZ cameras and looking at angles and having cameras just robotically moving around and audio and all that kind of stuff. And he does a lot of just construction. He does a lot of work with making a scoring system and such like through tablets and things. I'm just interested to know how you feel technology's helped what you do, or what you feel about that. Obviously, you just seem to sit there with tablets nowadays, right?
It's quite easy. It has improved the quality of umpiring from my point of view, because you lose a lot less time manipulating the palm top or whatever than working on a score sheet, where you have to hold your pen, you have to hold the score sheet, and this makes it another way of working. The position of the buttons are in that way that you can go in the direction of a certain button, and then you don't have to look anymore. And so the time you lose by looking down, as long as you're looking down at your score sheet or your palm top, you're not looking at what's going on your court. And basically, as long as the shuttle is flying around, it's quite easy, because then you only need to see whether something touched the shuttle, or that's easy. That's the easy part. It's when the shuttle is no longer in play that a lot of things start to happen. And that's the part you need to watch.
Yeah.
And as long as you're down on your score sheet, you lost the part of the story. Amazing. So that helps a lot. And IRS is the same thing. If we go back to the story where I say that your mind does some tricks on you while watching a shuttle landing in or out, of course technology helps. There's no doubt in my mind that this has been a major improvement. Now, at the same time, you can say that, yes, there are challenges, but with a good team, you easily get a 90 or over 90% wrong challenges, meaning that, yes, they are definitely right in asking for challenges once in a while, but percentage-wise, the line judges still are in favor of the good calls. But it's all, of course, about that one call at an important moment that might change the outcome of a match, and I'm very happy with that. I don't mind, even as an umpire, being overruled by IRS, because in the first stages of tournaments at highest level, most of the time you don't have, for instance, line judges on the front service line.
Right, yeah.
So you as an umpire have to make that call. And again, you're not that ahead of that line. So you're looking at a certain angle. Shuttle might block the backside of the shuttle, which is touching yes or no the line, and you might not have a proper view on it. I nevertheless think you have to make your call, and they can challenge it. And well, sometimes it's maybe an ego thing. I don't have that problem. So if that means that the IRS makes clear that I had made a wrong call, then that's it.
Yeah. And tell me about here's a new kind of dimension. Well, not new, I guess, not any longer. I don't know how long it's been. The service judge.
Mm-hmm.
That was a new dimension, right? So you've obviously come through before that existed, right? What was that like? That transition when that came?
Service judging has always been there.
Has it?
But the rules were different at that time.
Has it always been service judges, were there? I didn't know that.
Yeah, right from the start. Because of the difficulty of judging a correct service, you can only do it at eye height from your chair. You can't look whether at that time the shuttle is being hit entirely under the lowest part of the lowest rib. You can't see that from the chair. You need somebody at eye level. Now, the way it has evolved, at a certain point, that became a problem, because, of course, for you, the lowest part of the lowest rib is probably different than for me, and since players are mandatory wearing clothes. People like to see players wearing clothes. You can't see the lowest rib. So you have to make your best estimate on where that lowest rib is. There's an anatomical trick for making that estimation a little bit better, but still you're making your best guess. And this created a vacuum in the department where you need to judge that area. So at one point we arrived where whether you call the service fault, they wouldn't like you, and when you didn't call the service fault, they wouldn't like you as well, and players would get frustrated. So nobody was happy with that. So they've been looking a very long time for an alternative, and this is where they entered the 115, the 1.15 meter rule. I think that's a very good rule. The device might be better, but at least it made it clear that we are getting back to a very objective thing. And now you can start discussing about a half a centimeter. Can the device be as good as that half a centimeter region or margin of error? Probably not. But that's not important. It's important that people are not serving anymore at chest height.
Yes, that's right. I don't understand with it.
Except if you're very small, of course.
Yes, then you could. What I don't understand with it is that the vision. I don't know how it works. You're gonna have to explain to me how it works, because the vision, from what I understand, is, let's say if those things are at a certain height, if I sit in the chair I'm shorter than you are, then surely that height's different to where I'm looking. How does that work?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, but it's two plates that are aligned, and
right.
On both plates you have a line. So you need to align those two lines, and by aligning those two lines you have a level view on
1.15. Yeah.
And of course the lines itself create a certain margin, but that's a margin that's I've given courses specifically on that, where I actually looked for it, like where I start moving the shuttle 1 or 2 or 3 millimeters below or above, and they could all give a very, because I was not only asking whether it was a wrong service or not, I was also asking what their estimate was about how much too high or how much too low. And their estimate was pretty good. I mean, it was close as like 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters. Like they would say,
was
like,
that really?
Yeah, I think it's 1 centimeter too high.
Wow.
And that's pretty good.
It's pretty
so
good.
If you're talking about that kind of margin, I'm fine with that. And especially the calls in the old days where you missed it by 10 centimeters, they're gone. So the majority of the services are well within the 115.
And do you think there's an element of where you'll have a player who you make, it's really hard for me to ask you this question, where you make a judgment, whether you make a judgment and you think that looks a bit close, I'm going to watch them serve in the future more, and it becomes a pattern, if you like. I guess when somebody has a pattern, there certainly seems to be an element where you look and you watch them serve and you say, that was quite close, I'm not sure about that, and then you wait till they're serving again the next time, and yeah, it is, or it's not, or that kind of. The problem with that, I think, is it becomes a predicted thing. I'm expecting it to be high, and then all of a sudden it is high because you expect it to be high. If you understand what I mean. If somebody served high 3 times, you say, next time they do that, I'm going to call them on it, and they do it and they serve no matter what they've done, right?
Yeah, but that's the mental part about umpiring. That's creating the parameters for talking yourself into giving a fault, which you should avoid.
Yes.
And again, you're human, so this might happen, and you need to be aware of the signals where you can say, hold on, I'm talking myself into this. So what you do is just keep focusing on the objective part. So every service again, you line up. You go up for this line, you go for the back line, you move your head right until the lines are basically that you can't see the second line. Because if you can't see the second line, it means it's dead ahead behind the other line. And then you know you're aligned with your eyes, and then you look through, and then you know everything that comes above the line is basically wrong.
Could you
And
do
you
me a
can't
favor
fault.
one day, right? Could you do me a favor? Could you
Yeah.
sit in that chair and send me a video of that chair?
All right, I'll do that.
Would
Yeah.
you? I wouldn't ask you to have a call with me, but I would love you if you could sit in that chair and I don't mind having a call with you. I would do that if you can get a chair. If you can get a call with me when you're sitting in that chair, I would love that.
I can't do it. I can't do
I
it
know.
during a match. Just
No. No, that wouldn't go down very well. No.
I'll try to show you
Yeah,
how it works.
please, that would be great.
Is it exact science? No, it isn't.
Yeah.
But
no, I would just like to
pretty
see. I
close.
would love to see a view from the chair. That would be.
Yeah.
I would also love to see a view from your chair. To be fair, so that would be pretty awesome.
Well, actually,
One day.
I started a collection of pictures, what I call my favorite office view, which is a collection of pictures from the position of the umpire's chair.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a few from the All England, from early this year in Thailand, from European Championship. So I have this from different tournaments where I try to give you an idea about how I look at it.
Oh, I love
the
that.
umpire's chair.
Yeah, I'd love that. There's a guy, I don't know if you follow him, Janesh and Raphael's the photographers.
Oh, Rafael Sashta.
Yeah. Has he never asked you to? Has he never asked you to take a photograph from your chair?
No. He's. I mean, if I can say this about Rafael, he's an amazing guy and he's incredibly professional. But he's not the guy who will push himself for anything.
Really?
He will ask once in a while if, in case, where you want. He's just a very nice guy.
Yeah, I would be all over that. I would just, I would just ask. I guess that's me. Yeah, for sure. No, I respect that totally.
Yeah.
Good, but I'm gonna let you have your night. I'm sorry, I've kept you. It's 9 o'clock now. We've been on for 50. I've loved it. I've loved meeting you, and I've really enjoyed it. I have to say, it's.
My problem is when I start talking about umpiring, I can go on forever until you get bored out. I can assure you.
That's not a problem. That's you and I the same. We can talk about badminton all day long. I think I've got a new friend for life. That's for sure. I'll let you get on with your. I'll let you get on with your night. Thank you so much, and I look forward to that video coming.
Yes.
From the chair, that'd be awesome. When are you going next?
Also,
I never asked you. I should ask you your best. What's your the highlight, I suppose, of your career so far? I should ask that question.
Is it in terms of what you consider to be a top event, or just a match?
No, it's for you. It's your decision. The highlight of anything, yeah.
One of my favorite matches ever. That's already 10 years ago. Is the final of the Hong Kong Open. Men's doubles, and the two couples at that time that you wanted to have in the men's double final was Chai Yun Fu Hai Feng against Lee Yun Dae and Jun Jae Sung, and it had everything in the match. It was 3 games. It was almost a full house. So in Hong Kong, that's about 5,000-6,000 people in the hall.
Wow.
It had everything in the match. Jun Jae Sung returning shuttles while on the floor, a racket change during rally. So and basically this was 4 guys not going into a final, but 4 guys who were going on court who wanted to play badminton, and that was it. And that was one of those matches where most of the time you're just there to count the score. Because the guys wanted to play badminton.
So would you say that's the nearest you've been? Would you say that's the nearest you've been to applauding at the end?
Maybe yes. Although 2016, there was another big one, which was a quarterfinal. It was not even a final. It was a quarterfinal, men's doubles again, at the Olympics, with not Chai Yun, Fu Haifeng, who played with Zhang Nan at that time. So they became the Olympic champions later.
I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to go on YouTube these games shortly.
But the quarterfinals, they almost lost to the pair of Koreans. I mean, yeah, it was looking bad, but they came out victorious anyway. And the funny thing is that if they go to extreme emotions, then all of a sudden players do remember your face because you're connected to that positive
incident, yeah.
It happened to me with Mohamed Hassan and Hendra Setjowan as well. In 2013, I umpired their final at the World Championships, which they won. So for them, I'm connected to a very positive story.
Wow, it's amazing.
And that changes a bit the relationship. Most of the time, it makes my life easier because they tend to accept more, or they know you better. And then you have a different kind of umpiring.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just one last question is, so you've sat on your hands, right, for the whole game, and then you walk off court very officially, walk around the back, and then you go back and say, "Oh my God, that was amazing." Is there a little bit?
But also some specific situations. I remember a Dutch Open 15 years ago, or even more, and it was Kim Dong-moon and Ha Tai Kwon, and they were at that time the best men's doubles. I mean, they were invincible. They were like a wall. They couldn't get through their defense. And then Ha Tai Kwon looked like he walked out of the woods, and they took the axe out of his hands and put a badminton racket in it because he was huge, he was big, and he could smash, and he probably smashed one of the hardest smashes on my court ever. And in that match, it's like the two other were fairly good players. They just couldn't get through, and then Ha Tai Kwon got the opportunity to smash. And he killed it in a way that I didn't even look at where the shuttle landed. I just looked at my service judge like, what the hell was that? And she responded like, I don't know. It was just so fast. We never saw the shuttle. We just saw it on the floor.
Whoa.
We still think like they had to dig it out because it was so hard. And it was known to be one of the hardest hitters. So you get into that kind of situation where like, what was that? Did I see that? Yes, I did.
What amazing!
So that's special.
What amazing!
It is called, by the way, one of the best chairs in the hall. The umpire.
They say that the best. Yeah, they call it the best seat in the house, don't they? And I would agree. But like I say, I've spoken to several umpires or tried to interview several umpires, and I'm so happy that you've said yes. There's Seamus helping, who's a funny guy, you know, constantly telling jokes on Facebook, and I thought he's sure to come on. He absolutely point blankly refused to, and
well, he's enjoying his time right now in
Tokyo.
He's at the first Paralympics for badminton,
yes.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm interviewing tomorrow night. I'm interviewing the head coach for Team GB, Richard Morris. He's tomorrow night. Tomorrow night or tomorrow lunchtime. Don't tell my boss. Good. Anyway, listen, I'll let you get on with your evening. I've really enjoyed meeting you. Thank you so much thank you so much for coming on. You're my new friend. Cheers, Bert.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Nice. Take care. Have a good night.